Imagine stepping into the shoes of a nursing student. What are those fundamental principles, those deeply held beliefs guiding them? As they move from the classroom right to the bedside, what core values are really shaping that whole journey? Today, we're taking a deep dive into exactly that. Our mission, really, is to explore this comprehensive systematic review. It unpacks the professional values of nursing students navigating their academic path. We'll explore what values they say they hold, how these values get nurtured, and maybe most importantly, why they're absolutely critical for the future of healthcare.
Yeah, and our insights today are coming from a really robust source. It's called The Professional Values of Nursing Students, a systematic review. It's by Cosmai and colleagues, just published in 2025. And this thing was a huge undertaking. They synthesized findings from 29 primary quantitative studies, which were meticulously sifted from over 21,000 initial records. So it gives a genuinely global perspective. Asia, North America, Europe, Africa, South America, it's all in there.
Wow, 21,000 down to 29. That's some serious filtering. So by the end of this deep dive, you should have a pretty clear understanding of the core values shaping that next generation of healthcare pros. We'll talk about how education and culture fit in and why these values are, well, foundational to the care you or your loved ones might receive. It's kind of a unique snapshot, isn't it, of nursing right now?
It really is. A pivotal moment, you could say.
So, okay, the big question first. Why? Why are these professional values so critical? I mean, you could argue technical skills and scientific knowledge are paramount, right?
Especially now.
Well, that's the thing. This review really highlights how these values directly influence the quality of care and the ethical decisions nurses make every single day. It's not just about what they can do technically, it's about how they approach it, their moral compass, if you like.
And this isn't exactly a new idea, is it?
Oh, not at all. It's fascinating. Florence Nightingale, way back in the 19th century, she argued that nursing should be built on personal values, not just science. That's incredible how long that perspective has been around. And modern thinking backs that up.
Completely. The literature today really reinforces that values are essential guides for action. They're the bedrock of decision-making and practice.
Right. And with everything getting more complex, globalization, diversity, ethical tightropes.
Exactly. Defining these values becomes even more essential now.
Yeah.
Nurses are the biggest part of the healthcare workforce,
Yeah.
Their decisions need clear ethical guidelines beyond just following protocols.
Okay, so it's crucial systemically. But what about for the individual student? How personal is this?
Oh, it's deeply personal. Professional values aren't just like downloading a lecture.
Yeah.
They're shaped by personal preferences, growth, experience, strongly influenced by culture, environment, education, what they've been through before.
Mhm.
And here's a key insight from the review. The better the alignment between a student's own personal values and the professional ones they're learning, the more likely they are to act ethically and make responsible choices. It's about truly internalizing them.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not a one-and-done course, it's a journey.
Precisely. It's a continuous process. It starts the moment they walk into a nursing program, and it keeps going throughout their whole career. And educators. They play such a vital role here, helping students connect their personal sense of, say, compassion to the professional value of caring.
Guiding that transformation. Okay, so we've established the why. Let's get into the what. What did this big systematic review actually find? What values are emerging across the globe? You mentioned the scope, but how did they actually approach analyzing those 29 studies?
So they included 29 studies, mostly cohort studies, meaning they followed groups over time. And just a quick point on their method, because it's important. The review itself had really strict criteria for which studies got in. So while they might describe their own internal quality score as, quote, low, that's actually because they were so selective. It means they only used high-quality individual studies. So the results themselves are built on really solid ground. You can trust them.
Ah, okay, so that low score is actually a sign of high standards for inclusion. Good to know. So given that rigor, what core values kept popping up? What defines these future nurses?
Well, the standout, absolutely number one, was caring. It came up most frequently across totally different places like the U.S., Turkey, Iran.
Caring, okay. That feels fundamental.
It really does.
Yeah.
And right behind it was trust. That was the second most common, especially emphasized in studies from the U.S. and Italy. It suggests, that deep down, aspiring nurses prioritize empathy and reliability.
That's quite reassuring, actually, in today's complex system.
It is. It shows those human connections are still seen as foundational.
Were there other major values besides caring and trust?
Oh, definitely. Human dignity got a lot of attention, particularly in Turkey and Israel, that core respect for the patient. Then there was justice,
Yeah.
often linked to confidentiality and public safety. That was prominent in places like Iran and Jordan.
Justice. So fairness, equity.
Yeah, and protecting patient information, ensuring safety. It's broad.
Hmm.
We also saw activism mentioned, particularly in Italy, and altruism, that selfless service idea popped up in Canada and Ireland.
Activism is interesting, like advocating for patients.
Could be. Or advocating for the profession, maybe system changes. The studies might define it differently.
Got it. Any other, maybe more specific or culturally nuanced values?
Yes, a few interesting ones. The principle of duty came up consistently in studies of Korean nursing students over decades, actually, from 1988 to 2015, emphasizing that immediate help for those in need.
Wow, that's consistent over time.
And nursing professionalism itself was a value, covering things like professional self-concept and nursing originality,
Hmm.
and values like obedience to authority and truth also made appearances. So it's quite a rich picture.
It really is. You mentioned cultural differences there, like the US versus Italy emphasis. Did the review dig deeper into those cross-cultural nuances? Or how values change during training?
It did. There were some fascinating comparisons. One study by Alfred and colleagues, for instance, found American and Taiwanese students shared core values, like caring. But they prioritized them differently. American students put more emphasis on trust, while Taiwanese students put caring at the very top.
So the underlying value is there, but the cultural lens shifts the priority.
Exactly.
But
Which is pretty crucial for thinking about global nursing education and practice. How do we teach and work across those nuances?
absolutely. And what about the evolution during their education? Are these values fixed when they start, or do they develop?
Oh, they definitely develop. The review clearly shows they aren't static. As students move through their academic years, their average scores for professional values often went up.
So learning and experience deepen these values.
It seems so. Martin et al., back in 2003, found fourth-year students scored higher on 5 out of 11 values compared to earlier years. Another study by Green in 2020 compared novice, advanced, and senior student groups. The advanced group, maybe after getting some basic practical experience, actually scored highest on caring, activism, and justice, suggesting maybe a peak there.
Huh, interesting. Not just a steady climb necessarily.
Potentially. Although some longitudinal studies, like one by Kaya and colleagues, found human dignity ranked first consistently through all 4 years. So some core values might stay central.
Right, it shows it's a dynamic process. So connecting the dots,
Yeah.
what are the key things influencing this development? We've touched on culture and time in the program.
Well, the formal education piece is huge. Both the classroom learning, the theory,
Right.
and the clinical environment. Those internships, the hands-on experience, the whole university experience shapes these values profoundly.
And the educators themselves.
Crucial. They're not just teaching skills. They're role models. They help students bridge their personal values into that professional framework, often through discussion, reflection.
And outside the formal curriculum, the broader world.
Yeah, the sociocultural environment, as we said, plays a massive part. Different cultures, different priorities, which leads to big questions, right? How do you foster common ground for global nursing while respecting differences? How does cultural understanding help?
Tricky balance.
Definitely. But beyond all that, the teaching, the culture, the placements, there's the student's own personal contribution, their individual beliefs, their past experiences, how they see the world. That's not just background noise. It's a vital ingredient in how their professional self takes shape.
So it's this interplay of the personal, the educational, and the environmental.
You got it.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what are the big implications here for the future of nursing, for healthcare? Why should you, our listener, really care about these findings?
Well, for patients and the quality of care, it's pretty direct. High levels of these professional values, they directly enhance the quality of nursing care. That leads to better satisfaction for both the nurses and the patients. These values really determine that ethical human approach. They influence how effective the care actually is.
So better values, better care. Simple as that.
Essentially, yes. And for the nursing profession itself. Articulating these values helps unify the profession. It clearly shows the immense contribution nursing makes to society.
Okay, and what about for nursing schools or hospitals?
For education, it reinforces the need to invest in programs that don't just teach the technical stuff. They need to actively promote ethical and human values. Value theory should be woven right into the curriculum, undergraduate and postgraduate, make it central.
Not just an add-on.
Exactly. And for healthcare organizations, they should encourage discussions about professional values that align with their own organizational values, that build a sense of belonging for nurses, helps maintain high standards, improves care quality. It's a win-win.
Makes sense. Now, we should probably touch on limitations. No study is perfect. What couldn't this review definitively tell us?
Right, good point. Most of the studies included were cross-sectional, snapshots in time. So while they show associations, they can't definitively prove that, say, more years of training cause value changes. Correlation, not necessarily causation.
Okay.
Also, there's always the potential for what's called social desirability bias. Students might, consciously or unconsciously, report the values they think they're supposed to have.
Right, wanting to look like a good future nurse.
Exactly. So we might be seeing a slightly idealized version. And one more thing, the studies used a variety of different tools or questionnaires to measure values. That can make direct comparisons between studies a little bit tricky sometimes.
Okay, so important caveats. But even with those, it sounds like this review gives us a really valuable snapshot.
Absolutely. An invaluable picture of the nursing profession right now. And tracking how these values adapt to new challenges will be key moving forward.
So let's leave our listeners with something to think about. A final, provocative thought, perhaps.
Okay, how about this? We know the healthcare system is under huge pressure. Demands for flexibility, efficiency, cost-effectiveness. It's relentless.
The reality on the ground.
So the question is, how will that context, that constant pressure, continue to shape these very human and ethical values we've been talking about, the ones future nurses say they hold?
Yeah. Will those pressures erode them or strengthen them in response?
And crucially, how do we make sure that patient-centeredness, which these values really underpin, how do we ensure that stays paramount in such a complex, fast-changing, demanding landscape?
That's a really important question, something to definitely mull over.